Welcome to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, episode 5 of the first game. I literally just finished my dinner, I'm sorry. I know I'm late. I know, alright? Sorry about that. Doesn't matter though. We'll hop right in. Last time we finished the first-ish part of the trial. I don't know of how many more there are to come, but at least 2 more I would say, so let's see how far my voice can go today. I actually struggled a bit today because I spent all my morning singing while walking my dog, and later today as well. Well, earlier today, I should say. Later that same day. On the second round. Third. I sang too much, I'm sorry. Just a bunch of banger hits came during my playlist. So, on my playlist. Doesn't matter, I'm sorry. I'm loopy again. I'm so tired, but not tired enough to sleep. Whoop. Continue. Yes. Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination? Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov. I did. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Cord, blimey. This is going to be hard work. Early in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windybanks. Well, it was Bedlam soon as sworn in. What? Seriously. Speak English, please. It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out me Lucy locket. However, that was a lie. You brothers. God, blimey. On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing of that sort. How'd you figure that out? Thanks for confirming. You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. You just ruined your glove, my dear. Unless you're acting fast, you won't get those fine stains out of your gloves, especially white ones. God damn it. If people don't do their own laundry, they do not know the struggles that come with it. A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Gov. We hear ya. We'll blab, we'll speak, we'll peach. A witness testimony. A legal entry, the whole truth. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard the gunshot, see? Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. Lummy, didn't give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarped straight into him in the black. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker. See, we never even had a chance, did we? So you admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windybanks's counter-top on the night in question. Not ransack, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up, yeah. Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. Makes total sense, yes. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't he make us sound a little bit more cutthroat? Can't just be coincidence that these men showed up at Windybanks's that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye, I'm sure of it. Illegal entry, the whole truth. Okay, so, alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. Nothing more. If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good. Well said, Ringo. Me old China. What? We'd only land ourselves in even more trouble. And in fact now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done, landed yourself in even more trouble. True. That's rotten luck. Says the rotten apple eater. Witnesses. Explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter? We never ransacked nothing. Right, Nash, right. More like we tidied the place up. Sure. Sorry. It was when we heard the gunshots, see? Made us both jump and all the stuff went flying. Okay. So what you're saying is... the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much you knocked all those things off the counter. Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah. This bag on nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright? Blimey me dead, Granny would have woken up at that bang. Big Bravia screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. What, how? He's like... half a meter tall, at best. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette. What knocked over a picture frame. What knocked them scales on the floor. Okay, that's... You've really mastered working quietly then. That's for sure. What a record. Me granny would have been scared back into a grave at a clatter like that. So, in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some. I mean, it was quiet as a mouse, and then all of a sudden, bam!
Excuse me!
Tell me more. Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels. You reacted, not me. No. Something to add about their testimony. You seem to react just now at what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only, well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about you just tell us what's on your mind? Yes, please. As you know, we brought these fellas into the yard for questioning last night, and the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Did we? Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have, Gov, might have. Does ring a bell now you mention it? Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still, I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here. Huh, fellas? If I discovered the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto, oh god, I hate that word, proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy, easy. We'll get it right this time. That's it, yeah. It's all coming back to me now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs. Right here, Gov. Just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun!" Okay. The bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl. That doesn't make sense. You're saying that Mr. Windybank had a gun in his hands? Oh yeah, bet there was a sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at each other must have got pretty heated. I mean, just before he shouted out, we heard the Jesus say, "If you don't want to get shot." Didn't really sound like he meant it, mind. More of an empty threat, you could say. Someone that constantly threatens to take his own life instead of someone else's. Threatens someone else? Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. Mr. Windybank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. That someone being himself, of course, yes. Yes. And good grief, extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided. Well, he certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger the other night. Only the person he was gonna shoot beat him to it. Cooked his goose proper. Bet he wished he'd squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Give me that gun." Okay. And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot? It was more or less at the same time, Go. "Give me that gun!" Bam. Kind of thing. Yes, a Korean acting very tragically missed. Then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck, before everything went dead quiet. After that, we'd done a slapdash job tidying the place up. And where was the part that you got scared and threw everything to the floor? Why? This testimony doesn't make sense. The bloke what owned the place was holding the guns. Present. What do we have? Should I go for it? Shit, I have to save. Well, here. Okay, save complete. This doesn't make sense. But of Gina, right? Present. You're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windybank, was wielding a gun, is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture. He has, Nash. He has, no question. And yet, the photographic evidence from the time of the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windybank was not in possession of a firearm of any description.
Objection!
You surprise me. Does the defense really intend to highlight evidence that compromises the position of the accused even more? Ah. Furthermore, the defense has failed to establish that the photographic print presented was taken a suitably short time prior to the victim's death. Your chronology is severely lacking, counsel. Yeah, that's right. Too right, Nash, too right. The OGs could have been able to turn the tables on the girl, eh? Hardly likely. No, I'm afraid this won't stand as conclusive evidence. You're gonna... what? No, you're not gonna take away one of my tries, are you? Okay, okay. Continue with the cross-examination, counsel, and heed my earlier warning, witnesses. Skulkin's never skulkin'. Whatever that means. But it still doesn't make sense. There was only one shot fired. Shouldn't it still be counted as... what do you want me to present here? Get a case note. What do we have? No, it doesn't help. The gun? This is Mr. Windybank's gun. The cylinder is completely empty. Mr. Windybank always used to keep this gun to hand on his shop counter. Yes, but only ever with a single bullet loaded, and I understand that's right. Keep all the pawned articles that were in this care safe, but his one bullet was fired that night and the poor man lost his life. Was he protecting the shop, I wondered, trying to keep the articles safe? Let's go for it. The witness's last statement is clearly at odds with this piece. No, this is gonna take away. No, I'm gonna load this. I'm not losing my try. I don't want to read that. Okay, let me didn't give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next.
Hold it!
So you didn't try to open the storeroom door then? Not on your life. It went deadly quiet after that, it did, but the wind put the wind right up me. But anyway, the door was locked when there's no way that was opening. Yes, of course it was locked from the inside, or so we've been led to believe. It was, Gov, it was from the inside. Right, so we had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? Unless there was some other way to get a view of the inside of the storeroom? Like through the keyhole or a spy hole, perhaps? Don't ring no bell, don't light no lights. We had to cut and run before we noticed anything like that. We're still cutting our teeth in this game, see? But one day... we'll really cut the mustard. Okay, please. Cut it out. Yes, thank you. Please do. But, as we know, behind that door was the victim's lifeless body with the accused not 2 feet away. Yes, unfortunately. Gina was in there, unconscious, with a gun in her hand. To confirm, would it be correct to say that neither of you set foot inside the storeroom? That's right, Gov, that's right. Good enough, even if we'd wanted to. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarped it straight into him in the back. Yes, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Narohodo-sans. Oh, yeah, we was a bit hasty there. We was, Nash, we was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like a leaf when you lot turned up. If you're shaking like a leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand. True. Good advice, miss. Good advice. Truth be told, my mind went totally blank. Before your mind goes totally blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand. Mental note, mate, miss. After that, we lagged it down the street, but apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers or summit, so they clapped the derbies on us like a wink. And after you'd been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct? Well, yeah. But listen, that proves it, done it, eh? We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had the chance, did we?
Hold it!
What? You had. And why should we believe that? Eh? What? Well, 'cause it's true, isn't it? The place was totally empty when we went in. At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused, who had a gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, these 2 witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Windyback. Correct. You've got it, mister. Down to a T. So the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windyback? Is that really true, I wonder? So am I. That's it? That's the full extent of the testimony? What is it, Bruno? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker you'll probably love, but I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something important. It is nothing more than a feeling, though. I've no proof to support it. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry. People's expressions, the movement of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that in and your brain will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling like you describe. You've concluded that there's something suspicious about this testimony without knowing why, that's all. I know why it's suspicious. I just don't know what they want to hear or want me to show to debunk that stupid testimony. I think you should trust your instincts. Yeah, thank you, Iris. Thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. We went rifling for... Actually, Let me go through all my stuff. What do I have? Whee! Okay, nothing to use here. The floor plan. If there was only one shot, shouldn't... Okay, we could try the crime scene photo. We tried the gun, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think the crime scene photo is what I should go for. Which one is it? The bloke? So he should have fired the gun. Okay, save here again. Yes. Yes. Oops. Go back. Present. Present. This.
Objection.
So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windybanks, was wielding a gun, is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture. He has no question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windybank was not holding a firearm of any description. Eh? You what? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection.
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Windybanks' gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. Yeah, that mole Tula used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun! Bam! Kind of thing.
Hold it!
Stay exactly where you are, right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you've so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out. Goodness, are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where's the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments? Where's this stupid autopsy report? Yes.
Take that!
According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Gimme that gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. Ah. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. But it's the God's honest truth. It is now shit he is when he was shot that night. The shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Didn't you say you did not see the shop owner the entire time? Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windybank holding a gun? Something like that might have slipped out. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question they actually saw with their own eyes the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite the testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Order! Order! Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, it weren't supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witness would be the death of you. Am I to understand that you've replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, we, Cut it out, Nash. Cut it out. If we blab now, you know what he'll do to us? He? Who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Bruv, come on, the game's up. But he'll have our guts for garters. In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well, do we have to? On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Encounter with the victim. Okay. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the Jesus showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it. For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled my gun on him and then he legged it through that door into the back room. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. So you are now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Makes total sense. Well, yeah, sorry. Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide. Very well. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Were we waiting for that? Encounter with the victim. Alright.
Hold it!
When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windybank? Well, sorry, I mean, that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gav, obviously, but we never thought no one was gonna come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery storeroom. Yeah, that must be where he popped up from, only place he could have been. So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Ginny must have been in there at that point as well. But that doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Windybank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? What? The mold jeweler? Couldn't tell ya. No way, Cobber. We had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like it was possessed. I thought we'd had it. You mentioned that Mr. Windybank shouted those words in your previous testimony too. However, you claimed that you heard him yelling them and on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, didn't we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim, Mr. Windybank, wielding a gun at the time? Was he ever? Blimey lummy, a great ugly barrel he had, pointed straight at me front? What? Front something. So what you're saying is you definitely saw Mr. Windybank with the gun at that time, is that right? It is, Gov, it is. Spot on. Then all of a sudden he came at us, he did. It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we'd had it. I mean... For an old cheeser, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. Yes, I note that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony too. Well, yeah, of course we did. He knocked over loads of books, a candlestick and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette. What knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter? Well, Big Bravia went flying over that counter like a gunshot, I can tell ya. Then the old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbrokery. Ah, see? There is a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right. When the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windybank, he did everything he could to protect his shop. I poured my gun on him and then he legged it through that door into the back room.
Hold it!
Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windybank? No, never. I was just, you know, looking out for me bruv, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled. Yes. And then the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, isn't that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off through that door and shut himself in. Oops. No, 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 no. I need... There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. Well... he still needs to be shot in the back by his own gun. That's kind of impossible if he has his gun in his own hands now, doesn't it? I wonder why Mr. Windybank ran away into the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Ginny was in there waiting for him, with a gun. Ah, yes, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Windybank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windybank's hands again? I have no idea, but that is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and me bravia. That's right, Nash, that's right, me and me bravia. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. Very believable. You say you had nothing to do with it? Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. The old geezer went and shot himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was from the inside. We know it was because we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one. Got good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch. So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker there was only one other person. Who didn't have a gun. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. It would indeed appear so. What say you to that, Counsel? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly have shot Mr. Windybanks? There could have been. Yeah, there's the stupid window through that door where you could shoot from. Right? Am I completely crazy? Could have been. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. What? What's that look for? From the moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did? What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is who could have shot Mr. Windybank? And it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts, so pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be? Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of two conundrums. Two, my lord? Twice as many chances to be right, maybe? Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim, and furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord. Are you alright, Runa? I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I'm sure about. If I can prove, hey Erika, that there's a credible new alternative to whatever happened, how are you doing? How is the 4th of July treating you so far? It would change Gina's prospects hugely. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the question posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. From that door. Beep. There you go. Is that close enough? The defense believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from that location indicated, where was the victim at the time? Well, here.
Take that!
The defense believes that the victim could have been... What? What your answer in fact show is that your own position is as absurd as those you have indicated on the plan. You're gonna take away one of my tries? What are you saying? Oh no, how... Why do you feel... Or did you... did you feel nauseated? Hope you're feeling better. Well, you said you're feeling better now. But... Better. I'm doing alright. What are you saying? What Lord Van Zieks is saying, Council, is that your answers are clearly flawed. What? How are they flawed? They are correct now, aren't they? I knew it. It's twice as many chances that we're wrong. So the questions are, from where did the culprit shoot the victim and where was the victim at the time? Well, I don't see why we can't show that someone other than Ginny could have done it in the storeroom, do you? Yes, that's right. And that's the right way of looking at it, I suppose. Someone other than Gina in the storeroom. What's the best move here? Should I try again or gather more information first? Give me the court record. Give me that floor plan. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? My thought is, since in that door has this window thingy, it could be used to shoot through. But then again, he was shot from below. Judging from where his body lies, he has to be standing here. So his murderer has to either stand here or, well, was hit in the left shoulder, right? Somewhere around here. But Gina's position does not make sense as the murderer. So this corner? I have no idea. Game, what do you want from me? Should I give it another try or should I gather more info? Can I even get more info? He died instantly and the pool of blood did not get smushed. Right? Right? No. He definitely wasn't moved. Although I have to say, for someone to die instantly and have this little blood loss is amazing. I'll give it another try. And then we reload. The defense would like to give another location. Yeah, well, you appear to be a glutton for punishment. I sure am, aren't I? So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answer to the questions posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. The body is here. Was shot in the left shoulder, so it pretty much only leaves this general area, right? Huh. Should I go for the corner or should I go for the door again? Hmm. Oh well, let's go for the corner. It's probably wrong.
Take that!
The defense believes yes. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. About here.
Take that!
Take away my tries. The defense,
Objection!
yes, 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 yes. Okay. Let's reload. I'm still looking for that skip button. Yeah. Okay. Skip faster, please. Yes. Don't care. Come on. Oh, okay. Let's go for the door angle again. Maybe. Can I get a photo of that stupid door? It's not showing up on that photo? What? Should be around here, right? I know that wouldn't make sense. That wouldn't make sense. But where else would he have been shot? He died instantly and he wasn't moved. Am I thinking too complicated here? Was hit from behind with his own gun. No, the door angle doesn't make sense if it's so high up. He barely reaches that window in the door. I have no idea. Shot through the door. I'm still hung up on that door thing. Anyone wanna take a guess? I'll be open for anything. He lays here. Shot went more like this. Okay, let's try that again. I don't know. Answer the second question. Yeah, let's put him here. Around here.
Take that!
The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. It was just too close to the door. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? I was... Now I'm frustrated with this game. Last time I had to choose an area. It was like, choose anywhere in that area. Anywhere is fine. And now you're telling me I was 1 millimeter too close to that freaking door. Oh, okay, whatever. Mr. Windybank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of the blood in the storeroom, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you are adamant that the shot was fired from the outside? From outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skalkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled my gun on him and then elected through that door into the back room. If Mr. Windybank ran away through the door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time. Huh. It was precisely at that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life that these brothers had the perfect, opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutors said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner. His report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Ah, of course. he would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windybank.
Objection!
Well, we would have a shorter person on the witness stand. Hello? The older brother is quite short now? I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key into the lock Wow. But what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there's someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Very well then, counsel, present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shot and locked the storeroom door from the inside? It doesn't necessarily have to be locked from the inside, though. If you want to say it was locked from the inside, it has to be Gina, but I would think that you would be able to lock the room through that window. But okay, let's go for Gina first. Let's save. I'm a safe scum, yay! Okay. And present.
Take that!
Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to lighten the noose around her neck. I am inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel, we could ask her, no? Yes, that's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. But of course Ginny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does. Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windybank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windybank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Bang. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windybank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Do you? Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windybank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life.
Hold it!
But we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov. We ain't. You've got to believe us. I mean, come on. we'd never shoot no one.
Attention.
That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would, because for my own eyes, you shot Mr. Narohodo-sans. There is only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windybanks' murder. Where does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shady as they can be. That was amazing, Bruno. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know. First time ever, and probably the last. True. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict of not. An admirable effort, my learned friend. What's this now? He's laughing? You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zieks? I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. I see another wine glass. It's going to be broken. I dare say, such chickenry is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here. Sure thing. If I know what that means. What? The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly, credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. That would be what? A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logic's failing? I say, Lord Van Zieks, it might be an idea to explain this bally conjuring trick or whatever it is to the troops on the ground, huh? It's that Mr. Windybanks was shot by his own gun, wasn't it? Isn't it? The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. By George, count bullets? Oh dear. He noticed them. Huh? What's everyone talking about? Oh, come on, Ryunosuke. Counsel. Yes, sir. Tell the court how many bullets were found on the scene of the crime. 2. 2 bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Narohodo-sans, on his arrival at the scene. Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet early in the proceedings. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windybank, and the Skulking Brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these two brothers shot Mr. Narohodo-sans right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find that if the single bullet that was fired from the brothers' gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means... Windybank, not shot by same gun. Stop. Only one bullet. Stop. Exactly. Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. Says the guy that keeps calling witnesses that are not credible. Okay. Okay. I hate you too. Right. Okay. Don't die on me here. Ryunosuke, stand up. Order. Order. Rip wine. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hallowed nectar into the public gallery. You should be fined at least. Wasting all that wine and your glasses. Well, at least your vendor that sells you all that stuff is happy because you keep buying it, I guess. Lord Van Zeeks. But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can, regrettably, no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in this print, which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. That disc. I'll be taking that, whatever it is, of Mr. McGilded's down to the yard. Thank you very much. No, don't give it to him. It's mine. That is mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. Yes, but music box disc belong McGilded's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Windybank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her, and with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence. Good gracious! Make no mistake, any sympathy for the accused on account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets that fact at its peril. I see. I think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence, counsel, as a crumb testimony to the defendant's crimes. Lord Van Zeeks, Inspector Gregson, what? Yes, Inspector? We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and I think it was agreed that that disc wouldn't be used as evidence. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he said anything to Van Zieks at all. I am unaware of any such meeting. But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted. Thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord. Indeed. Bailiff, the music box disc has been entered into the court record. The prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. There's nothing more to add. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all of 5 minutes. Oh dear, it wasn't even for 5 minutes, Rono. My lord, wonder if I might say something at this point. Proceed, Mr. Foreman. Been stumbling about in a bit of a fog up to now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden the answer's wholly obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. Oh no. Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
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 I want to know on what grounds. We have a consensus among the jury, it seems, once again. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. That's my line. I wrote that for Hurley. How dare he use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one thing I'm absolutely certain of. We're gonna listen to that shortly. I just wanna get that blood sample added. Oh, Runo, look! This is blood. Yes, you're right. Just a small smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before. Then it's my time to shine again. I thought I'd be waiting forever. Alright, hold still with that disc, Bruno. Can we get this done quickly, Iris? In a flash! Okay, what color, what color, what color? Green? Isn't green Sherlock's blood? Oh, a lovely shade of... bright shade again. Wait, that color... What is it? It's just that green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? Blood samples portfolio has been updated to the court record. Huh, okay. Interesting. Gina did not shoot Mr. Windybanks. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. I didn't request it that yet, but hey, I would go for it anyway. Thanks, Judge. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready? Gary Depp's squadron is primed and ready for action, sir. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. Alright, the jurors' contentions. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say, huh? Different breed to us law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need to stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, it was that pickpocket. I never imagined that simple operation would cause me such grief. Are we still stuck on that stupid operation of yours? Go to that client, open him up, and find your scalpel? Scalpel? Get it out of there. And if it's not in there, that's fine. But you are hindering the trial. The accused attempted a theft on the previous day. I can see I'm in for a busy day ahead. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns. That's great. Can you be my gun expert? And stop being on the jury? Thanks. I know nothing about guns. It would seem there is little remaining room for doubts. I have to admit, I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black. But when that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more. The whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair. Harris? The prosecutor's being mean. Just because Ginny's done some things she shouldn't have done in the past, that doesn't make her a murderer. Where did that bottle come from? Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Hush, dude, hush. Here's to the truth coming out. Eventually. Thank you. That's enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord. Jury examination! Yay! The defense's rebuttal. Once a rogue, always a rogue. Yep. Tell me more. Just because Miss Lestrade has a history of pickpocketing, she must be guilty of murder. Is that what you're saying? Well... Are all members of the British Army so quick to judge? I beg your pardon? Are you mocking Her Majesty's Armed Forces, the greatest military organization in the world? Sure. No, I'm simply illustrating my point. Making assumptions about people because they're a soldier or a pickpocket is wrong and dangerous. Well, yes, might have a point there, I suppose. But let's not forget the girl had already shown she had it in her from before. When exactly? She's clearly a criminal sort through and through. Can't deny it. When you say that she'd shown she had it in her, are you referring to this? Exactly. Tried to swipe that only a day earlier, huh? Or am I mistaken? Not exactly. Given that I was actually there at the time, it's hard to refute that. Why would that... Hair? She was given the return paper. And that music box disc was in the pocket of the code that she was supposed to collect. So how is that her trying to steal that music box disc? How? Okay, whatever. I've never actually seen the real thing. I can't wait to have a closer look at it. Ah, yes, of course. Mr. Sholmes did use his caramel bars to make a copy of the disc, didn't he? And then ordered every type of music box he could find from across Europe. We still don't know what tune it plays though, do we? But I'd love to see how the original compares to Hurley's copy. McGilded's disc. Could it be a clue somehow? Perhaps we should examine it in more detail. We already did. As only 2 bullets were found on the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted.
Hold it!
It's the number of the bullets that has you convinced? Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me about how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although, yes. Sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like the fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So I suppose, if there was another bullet somewhere of which we were unaware, I'd have to reconsider my position. 3rd bullet somewhere on the scene, could that be possible? As far as I know, and I literally know nothing about guns, but there is no indication how many bullets are fired as long as you, well, what's the right word for that? Restock them? So that could be a 3rd bullet, right? Let's go for impossible for now, I guess. I don't think I have anything that could prove it. Yeah, why aren't you choosing it? Hello? Game? Unfortunately, only 2 bullets were discovered by the police during the investigation. Yes, I know. Right. And I don't imagine the good man of Scotland Yard would have overlooked anything. If I missed a bullet while I was cleaning his lordship's office, well, I should receive a sound scolding, I don't doubt. And he should receive a visit from the police, perhaps. It sounds like a crime scene to me. A third bullet. It would completely turn things around if there was one, wouldn't it? Do you think we might find one lying around somewhere? You don't need to stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, it was that pickpocket. So, if I've understood correctly, you need two pictures, a left eye one and a slightly different right eye one. Exactly, then you can see the scene in 3 dimensions, like this. So, if we have 2 bullets, I don't suppose you can see anything useful with them. I think you'll find that no matter how much you squint, the truth of the situation always looks the same here. The only person who could have shot the victim is that girl in the dock. How can you be so sure of that? Think about it. The Skulkin brothers shot the great detective, didn't they? Yes, that's been mentioned once or twice. Well then, surely it's coming into focus now, isn't it? This is a waste of time. I'm going to change this man's mind anytime soon.
Hold it!
Good grief. Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? The defendant's life is on the line here. Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it is nothing to do with this trial, to be honest. Huh? I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think? I almost don't want to ask, but the surgery you've been muttering about all this time, you were operating on... What was that fellow's name? Hurley? No, Herlock? No, Hairlock? Herlock-sans? By any chance? Yes, good lord, it was that Hairlock fellow. What? You're the surgeon that operated on Mr. Sholmes? That's right, using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. It was a fairly major OP, I can tell you. This is crazy. Let me see, the fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. They said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened him up like a shot. But the funny thing is, I went over his inside with a fine-tooth comb and couldn't find the bullet anywhere. So I'm afraid I had to throw up my hands and just stitch the fellow back up. I hate to state the obvious, but yes. Surely that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting? The counsel for the defense is correct. As is clearly shown in this photographic print, the bullet that the Skulkin brothers fired at Mr. Sholmes hit him in the stomach region, then exited his body and lodged it into the shop wall where the calendar was hanging by the door. I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem 3-dimensionally. Huh. Who do you think I am, son? Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do. As soon as I saw a wound on the man's stomach, I flipped him over like a pancake. Are you saying that you jacked his back? Of course I did, and there wasn't a trace of injury. No sign that the bullets had left the body at all. What? That's the point. The only logical conclusion was that the bullet was still somewhere in the man's innards. Which is exactly why I set about slicing him up. And I'm still none the wiser even now. How many times do I have to say it? Can somebody please explain how it happened? Can somebody please solve the mystery? It's almost as much of a mystery as how this jury was put together. The mystery of where the bullet ended up is infuriating. Where's an expert when you need one? You need an expert. Why not go for this one?
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict the idea that all I do is pit yours against each other. Oh, a ballistic expert. Pitting. P-I-T-T. On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skalkin brothers. But since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Violen. Pleased to meet you. This apparent contradiction in the facts that is so clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night, there was blizzard. I was running away along mountain road in freezing cold. Golly. The snow was piling high on both sides of the road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles and they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind and I fell down in snow. And this situation was very similar to what I hear today from doctor. They could not find bullet in my body. And no sign of, how do you say, exit wound. Then where did the bullet go? Bullet never hit me. Well, if it never hit you, why did you fall down? Bullet hit frozen ball of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece, very sharp, broke away from the lump of ice and pierced my body. It made deep wound that looks just like bullet wound. Good gracious! Of course, piece of ice quickly melted inside me. And that is solution to mystery of disappearing bullet. No. But that is not the question at all. The shooting happened in a pawnbroker's shop. Not some snowy mountain road in another country. Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here. Bruno, where exactly was Hurley shot again? Well, according to the report, in his stomach. Sort of around this area, I think. Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch on his belt. A pouch. Actually, I might have noticed something like that. Yes, a pouch. It's why he keeps 3 class files of very dangerous chemicals that he uses in his investigations. What? Really? Doctor, where is the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing? Well... The fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital, as far as I remember. If I may... Lord Van Zix? While I realize it is forbidden for the prosecution to interject during a summation examination, I should inform the defense that I have the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. Sorry? As I understand it, when the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Sholmes injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound. Ah, thank goodness, I thought I was getting forgetful for a moment. Since then, it has been in my safekeeping along with all other evidence related to the case. I can personally vouch for the fact that it has not been touched since the incident occurred. Very well. While extremely unconventional during summation examination, I must demand the prosecution presents the item in question with all speed. Bring forth Mr. Herlock Sholmes' pouch. I see. So this is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes on the night in question, is it? Look at that. One of the files is broken, the leather around it is scorched black. It's almost as if the file exploded. Exploded? So, that night, the bullet from the Skalkin brothers' gun struck Mr. Sholmes' pouch. And it was the glass file exploding that caused the fellow's injury. This bullet did not penetrate the victim, but was deflected into a wall of shot. A delightfully complex aroma. Well, it would appear one mystery has been solved at least. Though it has no bearing on the truth of this case. Oh, it's not been added yet. Okay. The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective and the accused shot the pawnbroker. The pertinent facts of the case remain unaltered. But at least the mystery is solved. I can sleep easy tonight. Thank you, young man. Da. Thank you very much. Glad I could help. Due to its bearing on the conundrum to solve, the court will sequester the scruffy pouch as evidence. Hurley's pouch isn't scruffy. Sholmes' pouch has been entered into the court record. Now, the summation examination. It will appear the defense is somewhat struggling to alter opinion, huh? Please, my lord, a little more time. After all, that's a new piece of evidence. It would be a valuable clue, and you can't afford to overlook anything here, Ryunosuke. There's still a way to turn this around. Somehow. I'm sure of it. Okay. Yeah, let me go into the court records and look at this. Okay. Oops. Meep. Oh, there it is. It's really scorched badly just here. Oh, the strap is broken, look. This must be where the bullet hit then. Let me see. And it's still there. What the... Iris, look! Behind where the broken file was. Do you see it? That's the Skarkin brothers' bullet. What a stroke of luck that it hit his pouch. This is an amazing discovery. What this means is there were 3 bullets fired at Windybanks' that night. We found exactly what the juror was talking about. The 3rd bullet. It's time to press that juror again, I think. The 3rd bullet has been entered into the court record. Alright. Let's go back. And I can't go back. I hate it. No. What? No! Let me go back to juror number 3. Press.
Hold it!
Only 2 bullets were fired. Nope. Yes. Somehow. Blah 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 blah. The bullet. I can prove it. Allow me to show you, then, the 3rd bullet.
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question, Windybanks' pawnbrokery, another bullet was fired. What is this new trickery, you Nipponese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? It was lodged inside Mr. Sholmes' pouch. What? This pouch was removed from around Mr. Sholmes' waist before he was taken to hospital, and since then it has been touched by no one. Do you mean to say the shot fired by the Skarkin brothers that night? Yes, as your lordship has surmised, it hit this pouch. But that makes no sense whatsoever. We already know that the whereabouts of the bullet fired at Mr. Sholmes. It's clearly visible in this photographic print. 2 guns from the scene have already been submitted into the court as evidence. Yes, that of Mr. Windybank and that belonging to the Skarkin brothers. And examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each. Oh. But that must mean... That's right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the crime scene. And until that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment. Order! Order! While this summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundation upon which the case against the defendant has been built. As is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination. By Jupiter! What? Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once. To be continued? Nope. Okay. Witnesses. Governor. Were you listening to proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination? We was, Governor, we was. Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble Simply answer this one question. A third bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that? Make of it, Gav? I don't make nothing. Is it one of yours? Go blimey, Gov. Go blimey. Not a chance. In that case, did you have an accomplice? What? What? Never. The Skulking brothers work alone. Just the two of us. That's our trademark. How soon we forgot poor Sulky. Only 2 of the bullets were the crimes from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The third bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it? Lummy, that's an head scratcher. Counsel for the defense. Yes? I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The third bullet and the mysterious missing firearm, from whence it came. Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear that this third bullet tells us about the Skulking brother. They had another gun. Is what I would go for. But then again, yeah, they would have had the gun possession, so... And they said something about a he. Secret accomplice. On that night at Winnie Banks' pawnbrokery, the brothers must have been working with a third man. Him. The witnesses are clearly doing their best to cover up the existence of this accomplice. But the evidence all points to the fact that there was someone else present, someone carrying a gun. Oh, the blonde dude, right?
Objection!
An accomplice, you say? Pigswell. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summations examinations. Yet in all that time there has been not a murmur of a third man. If this apparently wraith-like being exists, the court must be shown hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy will be crushed. The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime, and secondly, the identity of this spurious character. The Skulkins are lying, I know that. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they are hiding? Well, counsel, I'm supposed to prove the existence of this accomplice and reveal the person's identity even. In response to the prosecution's demand, my lord, the defense is ready to present answers. The defense is ready. I believe I can provide all the answers the prosecution demands. So, my Nipponese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. I have to push forward now. There's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference. In that case, Council, I would like you to present the evidence without delay. On the night in question, in the moments leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you that there was a third intruder present at the scene, since this is definitely not Sherlock's blood? Let's go for the blood sample portfolio.
Take that!
The evidence is right here in this portfolio. By Jove, that portfolio again, is it? Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific. Do you claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of this third intruder? Well, which one is it?
Take that!
What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar. That's a bloodstain, my lord. A bloodstain? Green blood? Curious. Curious even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some unhuman creature? It's something developed by Mr. Narohodo-sans. By the great detective? New invention. Stop. Not yet appeared in stories. Stop. It's this, you see. It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger sprays a chemical that reacts with the different elements in people's blood to change its color. Different elements of people's blood? Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see, because it's made up of different elements. So by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is. Oh, that brings a whole extra dimension to looking at blood. Talk of blood in courtroom, stop. Very exciting, stop. As an example, this one shows the blood of the victims to Windybank. Ah, striking blue. Yes, so you see the green blood color of this bloodstain on the calendar shows that somebody else was shot in the main part of the room. Now hold fire there, young man. Could be from some unrelated incident, couldn't it? No, it's not unrelated. The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Windybank was killed. By golly. Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day. Then whose blood is it? Well, the skulking brothers in the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries, which means it must be the blood of somebody else. The third intruder, in fact.
Objection!
Whose identity the court is still waiting to hear. You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged third intruder? Well, obviously it's Agate Benedict.
Take that!
The man's name is Agate Benedict. Agate Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, Counsel? He paid a visit to Windybank's pawnbrokery on the afternoon before the incident took place. When the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing this article into her possession. That's right. The man identified by the defense, Mr. Agate Benedict. then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force. Broker. Yes, sir. I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you now? Yes. The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. No, that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you warstraw, and needless to say, any music box discs too. Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc. Can you corroborate this account, Inspector? Yes, my lord. That's more or less what happened. And in the interests of being thorough, I asked Windybank for print showing the fellow. Taken from one of his red-handed recorder gubbins. Yes, that's him talking to Mr. Windybank that morning. And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice? Well, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin? Huh? Okay. What happened to my life, chat? Never seen the chaser before in my life. On me live, Gov. On me live. Never seen him. Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with the assertion. I'm sure your lordship recalls my learned Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice. Yes, and I can. Then show us the evidence. I agree. We must see proof that the clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy criminal you say he is. This is the last piece of evidence. I've had a feeling that something has been missing in this trial from the very start, but now I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom. Are you ready to present your answer to the court then, counsel? Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proof that the man pictured in this photographic print was in fact the person struck by the third bullet.
Take that!
As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windybanks', which is when the aforementioned Agate Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man then attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possession, no? That's correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. It was following this that a minor incident occurred. But of course, sir, here is the disc for you. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute, that disc is mine. Oh, what do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Being a music box disc, it has countless small but sharp metal protrusions over its surface. Those protrusions caused Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed, and the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now. Goodness, a blood stain, is it? My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom. Using my trusty fogger gun. Yes. And we added the results to this portfolio. I say, it's green. It's exactly the same color as the blood around the calendar. The evidence is conclusive. The man calling himself Mr. Agate Benedict, who was in Winniebanks earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night. So where was someone else? Look at those two brothers now, they're sweating buckets. Oi! What are you talking about? It's boiling in there. My lord, it is in the opinion of the defense that Mr. Agate Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify. It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore this gentleman's apparent presence.
Objection!
This has gone on long enough now, this flagrant ignorance of the mechanics of law. Sherlock Holmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. The protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar classes. A god of detection of some such. And now you employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest court in the land. Do you expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence. So, the bloodstain turned a shade of green. What of it? Here's to you, successfully proving that no other blood in the world could turn the same color. Well... And pray, do not even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sherlock Holmes' word for it. I don't know. I mean, he is a great detective. What are you talking about? We can't let him do something. I knew it would come to this. Of course, Mr. Holmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body. But what other choice did I have? I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. About how he was temporarily suspending the summation examination. In other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it? Good grief. What did you just say, young girl? And in a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? So, the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain other people think of Hurley's invention. At least, not for now. Yes, she's right. Young lady, you have quite the devious mind. It really just comes down to one thing. Whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Bruno. Is that about right, would you say, or did I misunderstand something? Unbelievable. Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with. Iris Wilson, sharp shooter. After the dreaded presses of the situation from an entirely unexpected source. It would be acknowledged, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination has yet to reach its conclusion. This is absurd. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for your final leanings in this matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I'm sure you will come to a fair and just conclusion. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
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 Not guilty.
Yay! We've done it. 2 called guilty and 4 called not guilty. Such is the outcome of the summation examination. My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision. On what grounds? If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt. I'm sorry, Lord Van Zieks, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. This trial will continue. Maybe Dad. Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested the subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible. Don't worry, I'll end it in just a bit. The to be continued ... will probably soon turn up. My voice is already dead and I'm close to falling asleep. What? The name the gentleman gave for himself, Eggert Benedict, is quite clearly false. I don't believe it. Just when I'd managed to prove the man was there that night. Could I say something? Who was that, please? Who spoke? It was me, my lord. Juror number 5? What have you to say, madame? If possible, Inspector. Me, ma'am? I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again. The one in which the gentleman is shown? Ah, right, yes. This one, you mean? Of Mr. Benedict? Yes. There's no doubt in my mind. Juror number 5, you don't mean to say you know this man? Yes, I know him. What? No. Good gracious. Order! Order! Juror number 5, how on earth? I am a communications officer. Stop. As we can clearly see, the gentleman in the photograph is... Stop. Also a communications officer. Stop. He works in my office. Stop. Very talented operator, in fact. Stop. He should be in the communications station now. Stop. Tapping away on the telegraph. Stop. This doesn't seem right somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but doesn't feel right. I suppose we all imagined the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find out that he was a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up to at night. Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose that's why I felt something was wrong. If the gentleman is at London's communication station, we should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zieks, if you please. Yes, my lord. Make the necessary arrangements with all haste. As your lordship bids. The court will recess for 1 hour. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson? Yes, my lord. I should like to hear from you specifically about events at the pawnbrokery on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess. Yes, sir, my lord. Very well. Court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m. Yay! To be continued. My bed is calling. Oh. Safe. Oop, oop, no, wrong thingy. Exit game, save again, I don't care. Save it all. Alright. Alright. Oh, I don't know what to say about this part. It felt so long because we were stuck on stuff that was pretty obvious in the end, and I don't get why this game sometimes doesn't want to accept normal logic, but okay, it's still fun, so it's excused. Alright, Erica, thanks for stopping by and have fun with your relatives. And I'll see you tomorrow for the last part of this game, finally. Well, the first game, and then I take a break from it. Definitely. Alright, and we can try for the podcast thing as well. Maybe. Alright, doesn't matter. Take care. Bye bye. I see you tomorrow.